Walk into any supermarket. Why is a bag of apples sometimes more expensive than a fast food meal? Today's IELTS question tackles exactly that issue, and more importantly, how we build powerful body paragraphs around it. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our One Idea at a Time writing series. I'm Noah, and today we are breaking down the logic behind food subsidies and taxes. Some people think the government should subsidize fruits and vegetables to make healthy food more affordable. Others argue that the government should tax unhealthy food instead. Discuss both views and give your opinion. This is a classic discuss both views question. That means I must explain why some people support subsidies, explain why others support taxation, and clearly state my own position. The topic is government intervention in food pricing. The deeper issue is public health and behavior change. My position is this. While I recognize that subsidies make healthy food more accessible, I believe that taxing unhealthy food is a more effective long-term strategy. I'm not writing the full intro here, but I am keeping this position in my mind. Every sentence I build in my body paragraphs must support this position. And now we focus entirely on the body paragraphs. I have to discuss the first view fairly. Why do people want subsidies? Let me think out loud. If you truly believed subsidies were the better solution, what would concern you most? Would it be people's choices or something deeper? Maybe the real issue isn't that people make bad decisions. Maybe the real issue is that healthy food simply isn't accessible to everyone. Picture a parent standing in a supermarket with a fixed budget and a family to feed. Fresh fruit and vegetables may cost more. Processed food may feed more people for the same price. In that moment, the decision becomes economic, not nutritional. So if the government reduces the price of healthy food, what actually changes? Do people suddenly become more health conscious, or do they finally have realistic options? And if thousands of families begin eating slightly better over 10 years, what happens? Perhaps fewer cases of heart disease, perhaps lower diabetes rates, perhaps reduced pressure on hospitals. Now the idea has expanded. Subsidies aren't just about cheaper apples, they're about long-term national health. That's the logic supporters believe in. Now let's shape that into a paragraph. On the one hand, proponents of subsidies argue that making fresh produce more affordable is the most direct way to improve public health, particularly among lower-income groups. This sentence introduces the first view objectively. I'm not arguing yet, I'm explaining. By using government funds to lower the market price of fruits and vegetables, nutritious food becomes accessible to families who might otherwise rely on cheaper, processed alternatives. This explains the mechanism, how the policy actually works. As a result, improved diets across the population can lead to a significant reduction in chronic illnesses, ultimately easing the financial burden on the public health care system. Here I widen the lens. I move from individual families to national impact. Therefore, subsidizing healthy food is widely regarded as a proactive investment in a nation's long-term well-being. This closes the paragraph logically and reinforces why supporters find this approach persuasive. All right, we've built this paragraph one sentence at a time. Now let's look at it as a whole. On the one hand, proponents of subsidies argue that making fresh produce more affordable is the most direct way to improve public health, particularly among lower-income groups. By using government funds to lower the market price of fruits and vegetables, nutritious food becomes accessible to families who might otherwise rely on cheaper, processed alternatives. As a result, improved diets across the population can lead to a significant reduction in chronic illnesses, ultimately easing the financial burden on the public healthcare system. Therefore, subsidizing healthy food is widely regarded as a proactive investment in a nation's long-term well-being. Notice the structure. Sentence 1 introduces the view, Sentence 2 explains the policy, Sentence 3 expands to national consequences, Sentence 4 seals the logic. No repetition, no emotion, just clear development. Now I move to the second view, the one I actually support. Why are taxes more effective? Let me think out loud again. Even if fruit becomes cheaper, will people automatically stop buying sugary drinks and processed snacks? Is access alone powerful enough to break habits, or do habits require stronger pressure? Now think about the opposite. What happens when prices increase? When something becomes more expensive, consumers hesitate. Even briefly, they reconsider, and companies react as well. If a product is taxed because it contains too much sugar, manufacturers may reformulate it to protect their profits. This is where the idea becomes stronger. Taxes do not just influence demand, they influence supply. They reshape incentives across the entire system. This is why taxation goes deeper. It changes behavior, and it changes the market itself. Now let's build that into a paragraph. Despite the benefits of subsidies, I believe that taxing unhealthy food is a more powerful policy tool because it creates a financial deterrent against excessive consumption. This sentence links back to paragraph 1 and clearly states my opinion. A higher tax on sugary drinks and heavily processed snacks encourages consumers to reconsider their purchases, making unhealthy habits more expensive and less appealing. This shows behavioral impact at the consumer level. Furthermore, this economic pressure incentivizes food manufacturers to reformulate their products with healthier ingredients in order to avoid taxation and maintain competitiveness. This is where the argument becomes stronger. It doesn't just influence buyers, it pressures companies as well. Consequently, taxation can reshape the broader food environment by influencing both consumer behavior and corporate practices. This conclusion directly supports the position I established at the beginning, that taxation is a stronger long-term strategy because it reshapes the system, not just individual choices. We've constructed each part carefully. Now let's step back and see how the logic connects. Despite the benefits of subsidies, I believe that taxing unhealthy food is a more powerful policy tool because it creates a financial deterrent against excessive consumption. A higher tax on sugary drinks and heavily processed snacks encourages consumers to reconsider their purchases, making unhealthy habits more expensive and less appealing. Furthermore, this economic pressure incentivizes food manufacturers to reformulate their products with healthier ingredients in order to avoid taxation and maintain competitiveness. Consequently, taxation can reshape the broader food environment by influencing both consumer behavior and corporate practices. What makes this paragraph strong is its progression. It begins with a clear position, moves to consumer behavior, expands to corporate response, and ends with systemic impact. The logic builds outward, and that's why it supports the central claim that taxation creates long-term change. Today, we tackled a classic discuss both views and give your opinion question on government intervention in food pricing. My position was clear from the beginning. While subsidies make healthy food more accessible, taxing unhealthy products is the more effective long-term strategy. From there, we built the essay logically. First, we developed the subsidy argument fairly, showing how lowering prices improves access for lower-income families and can contribute to better long-term public health outcomes. Then we constructed the taxation argument, not just as an alternative, but as the stronger position. We showed how taxation creates financial pressure that influences consumers at the checkout and compels companies to reformulate their products. In other words, it changes behavior and reshapes the system itself. That distinction is what makes the opinion convincing. Now imagine this. You're about to walk into the IELTS exam room. Right before you go in, you watch this video. Then you open the paper, and this exact question appears. You don't search for ideas. You don't hesitate. You know how to develop both views. And you know exactly why taxation is the stronger long-term strategy. So here's your challenge. Write the full essay. Not in your head, not as notes. Write all 250 to 300 words, introduction, 2 body paragraphs, and conclusion. Then post your complete essay in the comments. Treat it as a rehearsal. If you can produce it calmly now, you can produce it under exam pressure. The ideas are already built. Now prove you can execute them. I'll be reading your essays